Hey, welcome again to BryzGarage. Today we're going to be working on this Ford F-250. This is a 300 straight 6. This is number 2 of 2 of our vacuum lines. We are going to replace these. I actually had a first video. I showed you how to detect a leak. The smoke wasn't so great, but that is only because of what I chose to use, which was vegetable glycerin. It didn't produce as much smoke as I'd like. However, it's a lot safer to use because it is less flammable. So there are other elements that you can put in the can that will smoke a lot more. However, it is more flammable. So whatever you prefer, obviously you want to create smoke so you can see where your vacuum leaks are. That's the purpose of it. So we're going to get into replacing these vacuum lines and show you the routing pattern. This is what pretty much everybody really wants to see. And we're going to do that first by taking off this filter housing. So we're going to do that by removing the bolt here. There's one up top, and then there's this hose right here that I've already loosened. And then we're going to pull off this right here. So that's what we're going to do, rip off that. One other thing before we do remove this, remember it's always a good idea to mark certain things. So we got 2 hoses here, and just so we don't get them mixed up, I marked one, so I'm marking the hose, and then the port that it's going to go into, the nipple right there. So I'll know when I put it back. That's how it goes. Alright, right over here, there's another one. Right here, here's my ports. That connects to those little rubber encasing right there. So I marked the bottom, so I know when I put it back together, it will go back together correctly. Alright, so now that we have our filter housing removed, it's a little easier to see the routing pattern right here. And we're just going to simply chase these lines one by one and follow them and replace them one by one if we can. We'll see. Again, I've never done this job, so it's new to me. I've just always wanted to do it, so I'm going to do it. So anyway, I'm going to take off this electrical tape throughout the web path there, and there may be some wire ties, and I'm just going to take those out, separate them, and then I'm going to clean up the lines so I can decipher the color, because as you can see back there, that looks like a lot of gray. So under that gray is some color, and I don't know what it is, so that's what I'm going to do. You'll also notice you're going to have various check valves here. So there's one, there's one. You know, they're all over this, and I have not yet purchased any new ones. I want to do that, I just haven't. So one thing I will do eventually is replace all those. But for right now, I don't have them, unfortunately. But so I'm going to use the old ones, and I just have to do a little more research on what the proper ones are to replace. Anyway, so let's get started. Let's start removing some of this electrical tape and wire ties and cleaning it up. Here's one thing I wanted to show you. This is located right at the front of the engine. You may or may not have this, but this is a color-coded vacuum line diagram. You have like green, yellow, red, and pink, I believe. Kind of hard to see the colors. This is old as the vehicle. But here is the routing diagram, and this is what people post about. They want to know the routing diagram. So this is pretty much it. But we're going to do line by line and just kind of go through it. Okay, I got the lines cleaned up as good as it's going to get. We're going to replace them, so it doesn't really matter. I just need to see basically what the colors are before I start taking these apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this rubber little sleeve off here, being careful not to rip it, because this is the only one I have, and I do not know where to get another one of these. That's what sucks about these, besides the junkyard. may be able to find one in a junkyard. I've seen a couple, but that's about it, a couple. But I'm going to rip that out, and I'm going to make sure that my port, vacuum port, connects to it well before I take that off. But anyway, that's where we're going to start. And there you have it. It's all connected, so we know it works. So now we're just going to start line by line replacing them. So the first thing we're going to do is start with this black one. I have no idea where this routes to, but that's what we're going to find out. As you can see, it goes from a 1 to a 2, 1 to 2. So that's where we're going to start. And I'll show you how we're going to do that with what I have. Okay, so these simply just slip out of these. I shouldn't say simply. They've been in there since '82, so they're a little bugger. But here's the color coding going off of this. I can't tell if that's white or yellow, but we're going to call that yellow, this bottom one. Then I have green, and then I have a, I don't know, pink. But because I don't have pink, I'm going to make that red. Then I have black, 2 blacks. So I'm going to disassemble this, and this is something you want to do. Take a picture of it. Before you take this apart, take a picture of it. Alright, so here we are. This is the rubber sleeve that comes off the vacuum port switch. I already have 3 of them in there. These are not coming out. They're very tight. I couldn't get them all the way in. That's how tight they are. They're extremely stuck in there. So we're good to go. So I'm going to just show you on this last one. This one here is an inner diameter of 4 millimeters right there, 4 millimeters. Right there, this is an outer diameter of 6 millimeters. So 6 millimeters, 4 millimeters. So what we're going to do is just insert this. And I'm just going to apply pressure. I'm trying to be as careful as I can not to rip the sleeve, because again, I have no idea where to get a new one. And what I did is I put a little anti-seize on there just so I could get them out a little easier. No worry, they're not going to pop out. I mean, they are stuck really good in there. So as you can see, I can barely even turn them to get them to turn. And these connectors are nice, so the hose will go in, and this kind of is spring-loaded up here, this little blue part, and it connects it. It locks it into place. It's hard to see in there, but there's little metal shards that lock the hose into place. So there you go. We have all this. I'm going to put my new vacuum port switch on, and I'm going to connect this on. Alright, so old one, new one. Okay, so let's put on our rubber sleeve now. Just set them all here, press down. Should all just fit perfect. And there we go. We now have our new vacuum port switch, sleeve, and these. So far, so good. Again, this is a first time trying this type of thing, so it better work because there's no turning back now. So there we go. Next thing we're going to do, so we're going to work on this black. If you remember, that was at the top. So we're going to work on that one. So this is a 2-to-1. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little piece of the polyflow, about yay long, 2 inches or so. Then we're going to connect on to our 2-to-1 here. And then we're going to draw 2 lines off it. And both of those will be black. And our polyflow is black, but the top tube is black. The top 2. Okay? Okay, so at this point, I have no idea where these black lines are going to take me. That's what we're going to find out. But for right now, as you can see, these just kind of snap in, if you will. You push in, they lock into position. There's no pulling them apart. They're in there, very good. So there you go. There's our top one. Then we're going to draw our 2 black vacuum hoses right here, and then it's going to take us back to somewhere. And we'll find out. Okay, here we go. The first top black tube, vacuum tube. It has a check valve on it that looks like this. So I'm going to take it here. I'm going to take this top one, draw a little bit of a line, again about another 2-3 inches, place on the check valve, come out with the tubing, and then that's going to lead me to right here. It comes around, and this connects right into my filter housing right here. If you remember, we marked it right there. That was the bottom. Here's the top. We're going to go with the top on this one. Here's the black tubing. You see I'm pulling it. Anyway, that's where it leads. So we're going to take our tube and then come around back here. Alright, so looking again at this, you can see there's one port going into two again. Remember this top one right there? That's our black line, our first top black line. So what I did is I made this little bad boy. And we're going to have to do this throughout it, especially when we go from the 1 to 2. This is the elbow. This is going to go right into there like that. And then it's going to branch off. So that way you'll have your black tube as well as whatever color that is that goes into this little check valve there. So again, that's all it is. It's an elbow with a tube in the middle and then a 1 to 2 right there. So that's going to go into there. Then we'll hook our black hose up to this top one. Then we'll draw another little hose that comes out of it, and we'll do that later. We're just doing one at a time. Alright, there you have it. Black line number 1 comes off of our port switch here, connects to a 1 to 2, connects to the check valve that was on there. It comes around this valve cover right here, then it connects into another 2 to 1 right there. Then from there, a small little hose comes around into an elbow, then this will go into our filter housing and connect on there. And then there's this little line here, and that will later connect to this little deal. So I haven't taken that off because we're just doing one line at a time. So now we're going to go to our second black line right here, and we'll see where that goes. Okay, the second black line will go from here and just make a straight beeline for that little doodad right there. I'm assuming it's another check valve, but I'm not sure. But the hose just ends up right to here, and that hooks onto here, and it looks like there's 2 hoses that come off this PCV valve right here, and they go down, but this top one connects to that little deal right there. So anyway, that's where we're going to connect it to, right there. Okay, there you go. Second black line, the bottom, it just goes right from the vacuum port switch to this little vacuum line to the 2 to 1, straight back all the way to the top port. The top, that's a 3-port system. You can see there's looks like a UFO. At the very top, there's a port that comes out, and then there's 2 on the bottom. That's the very top one, and that's what this black line hooks to right there. Just connects right to that. So now we're going to move on to the next one. Alright, so our next color is red. So red's going to come from here, the second port down. It's going to come across the back, just like where the black one came, around the carburetor. And this is it right here. You can see I'm pulling it. It's moving. But it's going to connect to the front of the carburetor right here. You're going to see this little hose. Here's a 2 to 1 right here. I'm going to replace this hose. That's what I bought the red stuff for right there. So we're going to replace that. And it's going to go to that port. And then of course it's going to come, we're going to put an elbow to it. And we're going to do a 2 to 1. And then we're going to have this other red hose. And I'm not sure where that goes. Somewhere that direction. But anyway, we're going to connect this to the front of our carburetor here. So It's right here. There's a port. That's where it's going to go. Alright, so our second port, again, there's the red. Here's another red piece of tape I put on. That's just electrical tape to help identify that it's red. It comes around the carburetor here, connects into a 2-to-1 right here, which connects into an elbow piece, which connects right into the carb, right into the front of the carb. You can see there's a couple of vacuum lines that are going to connect to the carb as well, so we'll deal with those when we get to them. Right now we're going to have another red line coming off, and it's going to come around. Here's the old one, so it's going to come around and go in that mix of wires, and we got to figure out where it goes. But right now it will connect to this 2-to-1 and go around to somewhere magical. Okay, so our second line, remember it's red. It's connecting here. Again, I just put another red line. What it does is it goes around this carburetor and it connects to where our first black line connected to. So it connects to this right here. This is that same little rubber connector that hooks onto our filter housing. So it connects right here. So that's just going to be an elbow piece, and it will go into right there. So I'm going to connect that line. Okay, once again, here's our red. It's right there. Here it is, right there. And it comes around. And it connects right into here. This is that port that connects to the filter housing right there. So I just used an elbow. It fit right in. So far I'm pretty happy. Everything's fitting in just like it's supposed to. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of this black wire. Remember this one that connected? And we've already done this one. Now we're going to get rid of it and do this one. So I'm just going to pull this out and then connect this to it. And that will take care of this whole deal right here. I'm going to connect this little stubby piece of polyflow right there into this check valve right there. Okay, so here we go. That's all done. I also am putting these little organizers, or whatever you'd call them, harnesses right here. Just putting them every so many feet just to keep them organized. So that will keep that all together. Alright, so next we're going to work on the green one. Alright, so the green one is pretty easy. It just goes from this third one down right here on our port. It goes down, and then it is on the front of this carburetor right there. Alright, so from this little nipple right there on the front of your carb, it has a wider tube. That will be our red tube. Then it has the little elbow that has a 2-to-1. Then it comes down, and again, one line is already going to the 2-to-1 right there from the vacuum port switch. So that's directly to there. And then you have one line that comes down to your EGR. And then from the ERG, you have another 2-to-1. And this one comes around and it goes again to somewhere magical. Looks like somewhere to the back of the carburetor again. But we'll find that out in just a minute. Right now, let's do from the vacuum port switch to this elbow, and from the elbow to the EGR. I've already made up something similar. You got your red tubing that will replace that black. There's your elbow. Again, I marked it green. I wish I had those green hoses, but I don't. There's your 2-to-1. This one goes to your vacuum port switch. The other one will go to EGR. From there, we'll try to identify where the one goes from the EGR to wherever. To the back of the carburetor is what it looks like. Let's find out. Alright, green line. So we start here again. I'm just doing a recap. The third port down, green line, third port down. Go this way, go to a 2-to-1, an elbow right there. There's our 2-to-1, an elbow, and then that connects to the red line to the front of our carburetor right here. Okay, so right there. Then from there, it circles back around, comes back around to another 2-to-1. Then this 2-to-1 connects into the ERG right here. Okay, so that goes from a 2-to-1 to a single to a red hose to the ERG, back out. This is so easy to remember, huh? That's why we make these videos. So anyway, it goes in. There's a green line, 2-to-1, little hose, single, red hose, ERG, back out to this 2-to-1. And this is going to circle back around. And as I said, it comes around this carburetor. Then back here, as if this wasn't confusing enough, here's your green line. It connects to a check valve right here. And the check valve connects to somewhere down there, and I'll get a closer shot so you can see exactly where it connects. But it connects down here somewhere. I'm sorry, it connects to this. And this is another 2-to-1 with an elbow right here that connects to the carb. Then I noticed from there, you have this, I'm assuming it's a yellow line, comes out, and that goes somewhere magical. So, yeah, let's just take it simple. We're going to put the green line there, come around the carb, connect it to a 2-to-1, and connect it to the carburetor, and then from the carburetor, we'll see where that yellow line goes and go from there. Alright, so here's a green line. Remember, it came to an elbow. Here's the elbow. Then comes down. Here is our check valve. And if you'll know, like half of it's gray, half of it's black. It's designed like that. It allows air to travel through one way and it won't allow it the other. So just remember what color it is before you take it off, like what direction it is. They're one directional, if that makes any sense. So anyway, air flows this way, goes through the check valve. Then we have ourselves a 2-to-1. So you got a 2-to-1, a small line right there. There's our small line. I have an elbow, and the elbow, it leads to the carburetor, okay? And there's a little nipple under there, and it's way back in there. And there's two right in the middle. So here's the front one right here. That was the red line, if you remember. Then we have one right here, and this is the top one. So right here, we haven't messed with this second middle one. It's right here. This is our second middle one. Okay, so just remember, it's the one that's up top. That's the green line. And then from the green line, it has a port right here. And if we look at our line, it's right here, I believe. Yeah, so that was the line with the check valve on it that I took off. That connected to the carburetor. So this line is a yellow line. And I think that's what goes to, that's our last port line. That goes to the port right there. So yellow at the port, comes around to the carburetor, and then it will connect into that 2-for-1 right there, or 2-to-1 right there. That's a yellow line. 2-to-1 from here all the way to the bottom yellow. So that's our last line. But that's not our last vacuum line that we got to replace. But that is our last line that connects to that port, to the vacuum switch. Alright, so just to recap on the yellow. Yellow goes from the top middle port of the carburetor right there to a 2-to-1 that the green ran into. And there's the yellow. Sorry. Right there. Here's the top. Right here. I'm rubbing on it. The red. Here's the bottom, and I haven't messed with that one yet. Then it goes to a 2-to-1. Right here. Yellow comes around. I marked it yellow there just so you can see it. And that connects into our bottom port of our switch valve right there. So those are all done. Now, it looks like there's just 3 more vacuum lines. One of them I can see is right here, and this is the one that was broke on mine, that I originally broke. You know, one thing that sucked, you can't even work in this truck without fearing you were going to break one of these lines. So now at least, you know, worst you'll do is pull it out of something. But these connectors are awesome. They lock into place. You know, they're like stuck in there, so that's good. But anyway, this goes off of this. Remember this canister, or I'm sorry, this check valve that goes into the filter housing. It connects onto that, and the smog line goes from here to here, and then it connects to right there. That's on the smog pump right there. Pump, line, and then to the check valve that we replaced. So you may not have this smog pump, and if you don't worry about this line. Just skip over this part, unless if you'd really, really like to watch it. Then it looks like there's 2 more lines. And that's that bottom one right here. That's your bottom port here to your carburetor. And that looks like that goes down, like you can see those red and yellow lines there in the back. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but they're right there. They go somewhere down there. So I think that's it. I think that's all the vacuum lines, but I'm going to replace the smog one. So just give me 1 sec to replace that, and then we'll replace those 2 that come from the carburetor to whatever that is down there. I can't see what it is right now, but I think that's about it. Alright, smog pump line if you have one. Smog pump, red tube. I then have a straight reducer right here with a little hose, little tiny hose. That's a white line, I just marked it. Sorry about the airplane. I then have an elbow with a line that runs across to right here. Same setup. Elbow, little line, reducer, hose. Connects into this thing that connects into the filter housing. That's done. That's our that is our smog pump vacuum line. Alright, so now we'll work on this yellow vacuum hose right here. Remember, this one connects to the very bottom. It's right here. The bottom of the carburetor. Right there, right in the middle of the carburetor, but at the bottom. And it comes around. There's a line. Trace it back down. And it goes to right there in the back. You can see that there's the red line and the yellow line. So we're going to replace that yellow line. Alright. Just so you have a better view, here's your distributor. Down on the distributor, you have a vacuum line coming out, and that's what leads to the yellow and the red lines right there, vacuum lines. So I'm going to pull those out, and we're going to replace both of those. Okay, there you go. So I got these 2 in, the yellow and the red, and now I just got to hook them up to the carburetor. Alright, just to recap, kind of hard to see now with all the wires here, all the tubing. But this yellow line, that's the one that came off the distributor. It has an elbow, if you can see it. There's an elbow right there, which has a red tube, and that leads into the bottom of my carburetor, the base of the carburetor. Alright? And the red line that came off the distributor, it too has an elbow right there, has a red tube, and then it hooks to this thing, whatever this thing is. I'm not sure. Looks like it has a couple different ports because there's another larger vacuum hose that comes off it. So that hooks to that. Okay, so now I've done all that I've wanted. That's what I wanted to replace, all those little brittle color coated vacuum lines that were hard, they were brittle. Again, I have not been able to find them. I've been able to find color-coded lines, don't get me wrong, but most of them are this polyflow tubing. So that's all I've been able to find. I have not found any that are shaped, preformed for this vehicle, but that's okay. This worked, and I know it took a lot of little different things such as the 2-to-1s and the elbows, but it worked, and I'm happy with how it turned out. It's going to hold good vacuum, no problems. I was just going to show you some of the other maybe vacuums that maybe you might have questions with. Coming off the PCV valve back here, you got 2 lines, one that hooks to, again, that, I'm not sure if it's a check valve, but we hooked 1 line into it, if you remember one of our first black lines. That went to the top, and then it has 2 ports on the bottom. One that connects to the PCV valve, which is located right there. I have a video if you need to replace that, but that hooks to there. Then one that runs here, right here, and it comes down, and it connects right here to this T valve. One goes to, I'm assuming it's fuel canister down there, and the other one goes straight to the carburetor. It does have a check valve on it. What else? That's pretty much all the vacuum lines, I guess. There's this main brake booster line here, and that leads into the back side of that little white deal right there. That's right back here, and it's hard to see, but I think that's all the vacuum hoses that I can think of. I am going to replace a couple of more red lines that were on the top of my air filter. So that's about it. So just wanted to thank you guys again for watching BryzGarage. I really hope this video helps you. I know a lot of people wanted something like this done, so I hope it helps you. Please remember to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Take care.